Let's say you're a concert photographer and you're like, oh, I got pictures of all these people in the concerts, whatever. It's objectively good, whatever. It's good. It probably is good, but they're probably going to hire somebody who has experience.
Yeah.
But if you go into it like, I have a friend who's a musician, they might not sell out shows, but it's like I've been documenting them every time they do a show. I'm backstage.
Yep.
You make a whole little narrative story.
Yep.
That's something you personally invested in.
Yep. Yeah.
That's going to go so much farther than having a picture of Kanye that everyone took on their iPhone.
Yo, what up? It's your boy Rubino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What it do?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuning to the UpNUp Podcast on the UpNUp Network. I'm your host, Rubino.
And I'm DJ man.
What's up, dog? How you doing?
I'm good, bro. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, bro. Feeling good. You know me, blessed.
Mm-hmm.
Never stressed.
Never.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
yeah.
you know.
That's
Feeling good, though, bro. I'm blessed. Good to have good people in here, too. Good vibes, good energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. For those of you first-time listeners, welcome to the show. As I stated, this is the UpNUp Podcast. This is the podcast where we're focused on cultivating culture, right? We do that by providing amazing stories of individuals, groups, movements, hustlers, shakers, all that. Anything else?
Nah, man. You got it.
You want to add on?
Nah. I think you covered everything, bro.
Yeah, man. Ultimately, though, man, we're here to provide uplifting, inspiring stories that can, keep pushing our community forward, right? Mm-hmm. Keep them on the up and up, man. While we're at it, let's make sure to always salute and shout out the consistent supporters, viewers, listeners. What do we call them over here, man?
Family, bro.
Family, man. A lot familiar, right?
Straight up.
Yeah, man. Shout out to y'all, man, for those of you supporting us and continue supporting not just the podcast, but the UpNUp platform as a whole. Salute to y'all, man. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. And, yeah, man, we wish y'all happy holidays.
Yeah.
And happy New Year, right? This is gonna be the final episode of 2021, so shout out to y'all. Yeah, outside of that, man, I think it's best to just get straight to it. For the first-time listeners, this is how we do. We always bring a compelling story up here, something that's going to, drive us to the next day, to the next move, to the next hustle, right, to the next step. Mm-hmm. And today's guest is a man who I would say is the epitome of what it means to preserve culture and document history while it's happening in real time. Definitely a true culture cultivator who's keeping everything he's doing on the up and up, right? Mm-hmm. A little bit about this brother. So he's an award-winning photographer, photojournalist, and creative. And though he's still very young in his ascension in his field, he's been able to establish himself as one of the industry's rising creatives with the resume earning him accolades from the 30 Photographers to Watch selection, as well as an American Photography Award. And this dude's cooking. He's always cooking. He's always building, right? He's always creating. He's always capturing the moments, right? He's been able to create amazing work for clients and publications that we all know and love, and we've seen a lot. Just to name off a few, some such as Vice, New York Times, Nike, Rolling Stone, BET, just to name a few, right? Mm-hmm. He's here with the Up and Up, right? We can add that to the list, right?
Come on, man. Might as well.
List, right? Come on, man. But, man, let's just get straight to him, man. Our guest is none other than the man who's living life through his own lens, literally, right?
Yes, sir.
Meron Menghistab. Can we get a round of applause, man?
Yeah.
Give it up, man. How you doing, boss?
Hey, man. Perfect. I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Blessed.
How you feeling? How's the day treating you?
Day's good, man. I was just telling you, I was shout out to Athletic Forum.
Yeah.
They just whooped my ass today for the first time.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Back in the gym.
Back in the gym.
Back in the gym. There we go.
Yeah, man, it's a good day, good life, no complaints, man. It's been good.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
You bring good energy in here. We love it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So if you're familiar with the show, we always start the show with the quote of the day, right? Something to get the vibe right, get the mood right. And brother man here is the man of the quotes. So what you got for us, man?
All right, man. Quote of the day today, short and sweet, but the quote is: "The soul never thinks without a picture." Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Me too. You took it there.
Yeah.
You took it there today. Huh? Yeah.
I did, man. So before you ask me to run it back, I'm gonna run it back again.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So,
I need to feel that one.
All right. The quote is: "The soul never thinks without a picture."
Yeah.
Who's that quote by?
Aristotle. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Before cameras too.
Exactly.
So he knew.
That's crazy.
I think it's like we gotta think or we gotta see a picture to perceive things, So I was like, yeah.
No, that's real,
cool.
bro. Damn, that's.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ern for the quote, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, that's hard. Now, Meron, obviously, the quote obviously sets up the conversation. You know, what we do here is about getting into people's journeys, right? The context. But before we kind of get into your story, something stuck out to me. I pulled a quote from something you said and regarding kind of the work you do. And the quote says, I've been asking myself to look at what and who I love and how I can translate the power of community to photographic work that will exist long after I'm gone, right? Could you kind of elaborate on that a little bit in terms of like what you meant by that?
So I think for me, you know, with the power of photography is because we don't have all the other factors of mediums, right? Like in terms of audio, video, and all these things that kind of like break down a very literal, almost not objective, but objective kind of presentation of what's happening in that moment. I think with photography, something that's really beautiful is we're able to apply our own context, right? So if I'm able to make work of a community or group or a person that resonates with a community group or a person, a lot of time that's coming from them projecting their own experiences, or, you know, like the real skill, I think, of photography is being able to create images that people then see themselves in some way or another, or see what they can relate to, or what they feel is true to the way they want to feel about the world. Yeah. And so I think that with photography, that's my favorite part about it. Like, I think that because you don't know what's happening in the 360 view of the around the image, right? You only can see what I present. I think that to be able to do that as such a subjective art form, but then people are able to connect with it, resonate with it, is the ultimate difficulty. Like, it's like, I enjoy what makes it hard. Do you know what I mean?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So I think that's what I've always thought about. So when photographing with the idea of presenting like communities or narratives around groups of people, or just what a wider umbrella, right? Whether that be East African diaspora or Black in America, whatever, I think that being able to resonate as far out as it can, because people are seeing themselves in it, is ultimate success of an image of photography.
And it kind of provides people the voice through image, in a sense.
They see themselves, or they see people they know. Like, that to me is bar none most important.
That representation is important too, bro. No, that's dope. Real. That's dope, man. I just wanted to touch on that because that stuck out to me.
That's dope. Thank you. Appreciate it.
For real.
Did your reading? Y'all do your research. I appreciate
it. On, man, you know.
Not playing.
That's how we do, man.
I gotta know who we dealing with, man.
Appreciate it.
So, man, let's take it back. Let's talk about the upbringing, where you grew up, where you just growing up.
Grew up in South End, Columbia City. Photography was, it's funny. I got into photography because I thought it'd be an easy A. I was like in 7th grade or something. Okay. And then I was like, this, they can't tell me I made if I make a picture on the wall, you can't tell me I didn't do the assignment.
It's like pass or fail.
Yeah, pass or fail, right? And then I actually really fell in love with the darkroom. So like printing and the quiet. I think growing up in a city too, being able to have a place where I could just kind of quietly exist, Yeah. And so I just stuck through it. So I did that in like middle school. I went to a school that was K through 12s, and I got there 6th grade. So I was at the same school for middle school and high school. And so I just stayed in the lab. The photo teacher, he knew that that's all I cared about. So he would maybe not tell other teachers if I skipped class to just kick in the dark room. And so I got really interested in the craft of the, like in the literal sense, like the trade of work of it. Like, it's just like I just was being in a space, having to figure out how to print something was addictive. And I didn't really know you could do it for a living, right? Like, why would how would I know? I didn't know any professional artists, let alone photographers. And I got into a program that paid for me to go to South Africa, and I was there for 6 weeks. And one of the things we did was I listened to a lecture of a Rwandan photographer, photojournalist, and that just like made sparks fly. I was like, oh, well then, if they're doing that for National Geographic, how did that start? Where do you go from there? And I just started backtracking, trying to think about it. And I was like a junior in high school, so it was like the perfect timing. And then I found a school that did photography, and honestly, I didn't even it sounds fucked up, but I didn't really even want to go to college. Not because school was hard or anything. I thought it was a scam. I was like, I got paid for harder high school classes. That isn't, I don't. Come on, biology 103 for
I feel
$10,000 a month.
Like, I feel you.
And so I wasn't particularly sold on it. Obviously, my parents were like, you don't have a choice. You know?
Yeah.
You're going.
Yeah. But I was hesitant because I didn't like the idea. And then I think photography came into my mind almost like a trade school. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, well, at least I'll learn a skill set. Yeah. Like, no matter what kind of debt they try to put on my head or whatever, at least I walk away with an actual skill set.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to school in Rochester, New York, upstate New York. Really good photo program. And
it was the Institute of Technology.
Yeah,
right?
RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a lot closer to New York City. It wasn't. But we moved, right? I went and I visited, and I remember I took my fingers and I went from like Seattle to Portland, and I was like across the map. I said, Rochester, New York. Ain't shit.
And that was your first. That was your first time in the East Coast.
I was born in Atlanta, so I got family out in Atlanta, so we used to go down there. But I don't know shit about it. And I feel like with college, my outlook was like, I think in Seattle, I could feel, especially at that age, right? Was that 17, I could see like, man, if I don't bounce now, I don't know if I'm bouncing. Like, if, just stretch your wings.
You felt that urge to like kind of challenge yourself.
Yeah, I felt like that was the best time as an excuse to go see some shit and fail. Like I can't.
Yeah,
I'm
curious. I'm curious though, because kind of backtracking to kind of your early years, teen years, right? When you first kind of discovered what photography really was, right? You seem to had a real curiosity, regardless of what it was.
Yeah.
Like to break it down, right? Like, like sometimes someone's like, oh, I want to do that. And they want to do the thing that's on the surface that everybody sees. Yeah, but you were like, yo, I want to know how this is crafted, how it's made. Yeah. Where does that come from? Like, where can you speak to that?
Man, I think, where it comes from is not as direct, but what comes from is my dad never really, he was always self-employed, as I suppose we say now. It's cool to be self-employed now. But like, he was never really someone who worked for a company or a boss or anything. He did his own hustles. Every week was a different little thing he was doing. And I think whether he explicitly said it or not, was you can't take the tools away from me. Like, he was just like, if I figure out how to do it, then you can't touch my money. Like, you can't get in my way. Right? Like, if I just rely on whatever system you tell me presents work or whatever, then I have to follow like whatever it is that makes the money, and then when you tell me it stops, it stops. So I think for me, I always kind of built into, we had a really long talk about this not that long ago, because I don't think I realized how influential he was in that way. But I feel like I always just watched him look at something and say, well, if I learn how to do it, then you can't, just to reiterate that. And then I started applying that to everything else I did. It's like, well, if I learn how to do it, then they can't tell me I can't not do it, and it just kind of grew from there and just kept going. And I think that I've always, even now, anything else I pick up, it's like I think about it like, well, if I learn how to do it, even if you got to respect those who master it or take it seriously, obviously, for different skill sets and everything, but I always will want to learn, even on jobs, like if it's like a video team and I'm doing the photos, I'll always walk over and be like, hey, man, so like, without getting too nosy, you want to respect people's, but like, I just want to learn. Like, I'm always fascinated, like, okay, how do you do that? Cause that's dope, because if I want to be able to do it, I want to know how to do it.
That's an asset though. That's why I ask, because it's like sometimes we have these gifts that we don't consider gifts until we get to a point of whether accomplishments or success, and we can always attribute that to who we were when we were younger.
No doubt, and I think that a lot of us, in this room can agree, like, the stuff that we're taught as kids that are supposed to be like signs of success or tools of success, and all these cliches make us play down how valuable a lot of things like immigrant parents like teach us in terms of hustle and movement and just the way they process information. Some more than others in different ways, but I think it wasn't so way later that I learned or realized what kind of seeds were put in.
No, that's real, bro. That's real.
Right, bro. So going back to Rochester, like, how was it like when you first got there? Like, I mean, obviously you're coming from Seattle. You go to Rochester, you're just like, damn, this is hella different, So
my freshman dorm room was on the 10th floor. Or sorry, 12th floor, right?
Damn.
Yeah. It was good. It was a nice view. I remember being laid on the bed. I was like, oh, man, like, you're just like, oh, this is what college in the movies look like. It was like September, right? So then up there, the lake effect, the Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, all that, the snow is something different. It's like 6 feet, like tall as you. And I remember looking out the window one morning and it was all this snow, and I called my mom because she works like early, so I knew she'd be awake. I was like, Mom, I don't want to be here. I'm not doing it. Like this 6 feet of snow. They're telling me to go to class. I'm like calling the class number, like not happening. All my homies were. One of my best friends was in Santa Barbara. 2 of the homies were in San Francisco. A bunch of homies at chilling. Eastern and UW. And I was like, nah, bro. They got it. They, so I set myself up. I was a little too, adventurous. But no, I think that I started calling around programs around the country, specifically about photography. And what RIT did was you started photo right away. Like the first day of class to put a camera in your hand. Like there's no like drawing class before you can get to which some people need, and I respect that format of education. Like you don't know what you want, you're young, like go ahead and spread around. But I did. Yeah. And so that I realized how valuable that format of education for my brain was.
Yeah, that practical experience is key, bro.
I just think I was pretty focused by like 17, 18 about it. And so I didn't see another program that I thought could support that. Yeah. That mentality, I guess, or what, I don't know, like just decision. I decided. I didn't.
So I'm curious. I'm curious because like I think that's a very unique college experience too, right? Where you come in and they're like, all right, here, this is what you're trying to do. This is how it's done, right? Yeah. I guess like as you're kind of experimenting and experimenting with cameras and with the craft and photography, while still being in school, what were you doing to kind of figure out, okay, well, how can I make this a career, right? Because school is kind of like the safe haven, the nest where you're like safe, right? Safety net, if you want to call it that. What were some things you were doing at that time?
Yeah, I think by about junior year, the summer between my junior and senior year of college, me and some homies got this tiny ass apartment in Brooklyn, and we just started interning and reaching out to people. And I moved to New York for the summer, saved some money. Back then, you could do it, like you could find a hood apartment that was cheap. Yeah. Not so much anymore, but back then you could. Yeah. And I was sleeping on blow up mattress with the homie in a shared room. Yeah. But I just was reaching out to photographers that were working in the worlds that I wanted to work in. I always say emails are free. Yeah. Like I just was contacting everybody who I thought would, and I always was direct about what I wanted. Like I never really was just like gas you. Hey, vague question. Yeah. I was like, here are the magazines I'm interested in. I see you shoot for them. Like, I don't know. Like, do you have any advice? Or I'm 19. You don't gotta be scaring me. Like, I just am curious. I want to learn. Yeah. And so that summer was pivotal because I met a lot of people. I interned at the Source as well.
The Source magazine.
I forgot. Yeah, I was an intern at the Source. That summer, it was hella fun. That was a good time. I didn't make money, but it was fun. And I just think I always put it out there. I was always blunt about what I wanted and like where I was trying to go. Yeah. And I think people tend to respond to that because I think what happens a lot is people get a lot of vague questions of it, like, oh, do you have any advice? And that's just the end of it. No, you need specific questions, like, and I think that triggered a lot of people. So by the time I graduated, I moved back to New York and I had a lot of contacts that I made that summer, and then I just kind of went for it. Just kept going.
Yeah, what was that internship like at the Source? Because I'm pretty sure growing up, huge fan of hip hop, right? The Source has a lot of weight, right, in the hip hop
industry. All that,
that's crazy. So like, how did you take that experience as an intern? And do you feel like it challenged you enough at the time?
I think at the time, it was the most. It's so funny. There was so much random little things I did that I probably can't even pick out right now. So long ago. But the most valuable thing was what the art director, I think he thought was the most boring job, which was my job was to archive all the old original issues. So like they have all these original issues and they need to because if they need to reference a photo of Biggie in 2000, whatever that was, 2010, then they got to know where to find it, right? Got it. So I was putting these magazines and archiving them. And I was looking at 50 pictures a day, 100 pictures a day.
Yeah, bro.
The photos that I register with, and at that point, at RIT, I was always in the library looking at photo books. So then to look at like the fine art world and then getting to see that work that was actually contextually like shit I cared about. Yeah. Because I didn't know nothing. I didn't have
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have a fine art photo book lab in my school or something. You know, like, so it was dope to like take this formal education of what, you know, the craft of photography, but then at this internship I was looking at all these pictures that I cared about. Like, oh, that's actually a really dope photo because I had the language, and that was the most valuable part. I thought it was so fun. Yeah, and I ate wings with nori. That was hella fun.
A word?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was hella funny.
You remember that part? Yeah, you can't forget that.
It was so fun. He was waiting for an interview or something, and I had sat down in, like, you know, my little intern corner. Yeah. And somebody's like, go get him some wings from down the street. I was like, all right. And so I went and got it, and I sat down. He's like, you want some? And I just sat, and we waited for the interview to start. He's a good interviewer. It makes sense he has a show, you know? Like,
no, that's funny because Nori's name is niggas on the run eating, so it's like
that's funny. I didn't even think about that.
I just put the two together.
Yeah,
right though.
Nah, that's dope. That's dope.
Just funny ass little memories like that.
Yeah, no, that's what's up, man. I like that because what it speaks to is especially the part about reaching out, cold emails, right, or cold calls, whatever the case is. The power in that, right? Not only
my biggest opportunities,
right? It's like
easy.
It's like I look at it like, man, like why not? But then also like what you gain from that is also immense.
The upside is too high.
Yeah.
Because, the upside is too high.
Because the more rejections or the more non-responses you get, you know what I'm saying, it kind of numbs you to any sort of rejection that may come. Or, you know, and when you get that response, so
also it's
important.
Like so I feel like every time when I was living in New York, I did a lot more kind of like I was shooting for the fader a lot, and I was doing a lot of these music kind of Rolling Stone, like these music profiles. And every time one of these bigger artists, photos of big artists came out, there was always at least 4 or 5 Habesha photographers who would DM me and be like, "Oh man, I'm out in DMV or whatever, like big fan. How do you?" And I would answer. I'd be like, if you ever look into contact so and so, let me know. I don't care. I'll tell you. Like, and it was just funny because I don't think they even really realized you would respond. I'm like, "What? You asked the question, I'm gonna answer. I'm not rude." You know?
Exactly.
And go ahead.
And I'm not necessarily. Maybe I might, you know, full disclosure, I might ask busy day. I don't see it. Yeah. But they didn't lose nothing. Like I may not necessarily have gotten back to every single person who's ever reached out. Yeah. But I don't resent them. I'm not mad at them. Like they lost nothing. So I don't know. I think it's the most valuable thing to do. Just reach out to people, ask a question.
But I also find it like, in general, it's like you got to think about it, bro. There's a lot of people who are just waiting for someone to reach out to them too, because they're like, yo, like I got all this experience, but it's just for me, you know. So you never really know just how much you're helping that person that you're trying to reach out to and get their attention. Like they actually are waiting for you, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, you know especially when it's young Habesha creatives. Because to me, I was always just like, my whole early part of my career, like I was the only Habesha person, you know, like East African person I really was seeing in certain spaces. For sure. I think it's changing completely now. I'm seeing like a lot of young cats come up. Yeah. Even like Burhana and all these artists are like Burhana. I mean, like you have a lot of dope musicians that are coming up. Yep. All their managers are Habesha. I was at South by Southwest. And I was in the back of the Fader Fort, and I seen like 6 Habesha dudes kicking it. Yeah. All managers. I was like, when did this? That's the low key hustle. The East Coast Habeshas. But no, it's dope to see that the world we're expanding to that space. I'll always young black creatives, because I saw for myself, I didn't even think about becoming a photographer until I saw another black person as a photographer. Yeah. And that I'm so literal about that. Like, reach out, because
representation is important.
Once you see it, then those triggers, and you don't even know that's the fact. You know, you don't even know that's the case
the image,
at the time.
Man, the image alone is super powerful. Yeah,
just
seeing someone
like
you're
you,
like,
like,
oh shit, I can do that too.
Yeah. And I like the arrogance of it. I like that you see somebody who looks like you, and you're like, man, they're doing, I'm doing it. Exactly. Like, we need competition. We need, you know what I mean? Like,
for real.
That's what I mean by passing info or trying to keep in taps with people. Because what's that say about me if I'm too insecure to help somebody out?
Yep. And we're only going to be on this earth for a very small amount of time, bro. So like,
what's the point?
Yeah, use what you got and
for
pay
real,
for
man.
it.
So, man, I mean, you did a lot of work, obviously. So, what was like your first photo shoot like, bro?
First?
Yeah.
Well, that's a tricky question because, like, paid. You know,
I guess
the first editorial I did was for The Source.
Yeah.
For a rapper that I do not remember their name.
Yeah.
It was like front of book, like, you know, it was like their like up and coming section.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I had all these photos of this dude laughing because he's a goofy dude. He was a funny guy, like you know. And I remember the editor looking through and he was like, "Oh man, you gonna ruin this guy's career, because I had not heard his music, but apparently it was pretty hard. Like he was, you know what I mean? And I just remember, it was just funny. Like I think that was a funny first lesson of like context of the article is important to like the job of editorial photography specifically. But that's a funny first. I remember just being like, oh man, look, he's enjoying it. You know, and it was funny.
It's the assignment though. You got to understand the assignment, I guess.
You know, it was the professionalism of it that I think I learned, not, you know, fully, but like it was a cool little professional moment. It's not about just going out there and getting the picture you like and then get home. Like,
I'm also curious too, because you know your story is interesting because we live in a day and age where, again, all people kind of see now is just your wins or like the final product. There's no context to how you got to that, right? And you do a lot of great work and still doing great work and will continue doing great work. But at one point, I read that you were pretty much holding down assistant jobs, right? For close to like 5 years or something like that, right?
About the first 4 years of New York.
But you did that with kind of an intention and strategy to at least learn kind of more technical stuff. Like, can you talk about that experience?
So I just approached that part of my career as a school. I was just like, who's doing things that I don't know how to do? Like, humble yourself. Like, what is it that I'm not good at? And I very specifically reached out to photographers at the time who I thought were successful, not in a professional success, like, oh, they're shooting for, you know, like more like their ability was something I had not really figured out. And so I want to learn from them. And every person that I ever worked for consistently, I was always very, you know, I built a relationship. It wasn't very like, you know, try to sneak pictures of their setup or something. It's more like, oh, you know, I'm really impressed by what you do and I just want to learn because I'm trying to become a photographer too. And I think that didn't rub everyone the right way. There's plenty of people I worked for that are like, oh man, I feel like you know, but that's just insecurity.
For sure.
But I ended up building a relationship with a good amount of photographers that held me down. Like, they taught me a lot. We would, you know, after the job, you're in the cab back to the return the equipment, and you just talking, you just rapping and learning. And so I spent that time to really learn. And it was like how I made my money. Like, I didn't have no safety fund. Like, I had to make money, and assisting was good money at the time. So like, it was just like financially a good decision, and I just needed to do it till I get my money right, so then I could launch into trying to get. But I thought like I could get a job at a wherever, I don't know, photo rental place, but I'm not gonna learn nothing. So I might as well try to figure out a way to make money and learn something.
On the job training, but you get paid.
On the job training.
On, man.
I feel you. Do you have like a certain like creative process that you go through before you like do a project?
Different things call for. I do a lot of research. I'm big on research and just like depending on how much time I got, obviously before, but I do this thing I call the anti-mood board. So like if I have to photograph a celebrity, for example, I'll Google them and I'll click the image tab, and then that's just their mood board when you think about it, right? That's how they present on the internet, more or less. I just like don't want to make any of those photos, you know. So like if it's like, you know, even something is, you'd be surprised, like a lot of people stick to even color schemes, you know, and you see the way they're photographed. And I think a lot of times I'll look at that and be like, all right, well, to my best of my ability, I don't want to do anything I'm looking at right now. Like, how do I? That's the challenge you should give yourself. Is like, all right, these exist. The image catalog of the world has these photos of this person. How do I not? I mean, or how do I add to it? Right.
Rather different.
Rather than oh, there's a bunch of them smiling on the black backdrop. It's like I don't want to do that. Then, you know,
exactly.
To simplify that concept. But I would say that's like my first. I always joke like that's the first thing I try to do. But I look at a lot of photo books. I do a lot of like research and just try to get inspired by the way other people are approaching stuff through history. And for example, I did this thing for New York Times Magazine. You know, I photographed a minor league baseball team in Spokane, and it was basically about this baseball team, but then they do like dollar hot dog night. It was like for the travel issue. The idea is like this writer traveled to Spokane when he was asked to, you know, it was like kind of tongue in cheek. But for me, especially growing up in Seattle, I didn't have spend a lot of time out there, and I was like, well, this is gonna be a very American thing that I'm not even that tapped into. Like I feel like so I started researching like old Americana like imagery and just trying to, and I started recognizing a certain color palette. I got inspired by that, and you know, so a lot of times I try to think of what other people have done and then try to either be inspired and keep staying in that creative space or push against it or try to do Yeah. So
it seems like it's kind of like you have your approach, but that approach is also can be flexible based on the project, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you're about to be dealing with sometimes, right?
Yeah, and for me, you know, how can I say this? Early in my career, the biggest critique I got on my portfolio was you're doing too much. Like, you have too much different stuff. Like, you're shooting the studio here, then you're doing journalism work. Like, it don't look alike. Like, you know, which was a fair critique, but I didn't like it. I was like, no, I like the craft of photography, and I want to be able to show that I can create in different ways, different possibilities, versatility, but not necessarily just in the sense of, oh, trust me, you know, I'll get anything done or whatever. But like, oh, I will leave my mark on anything. Like, I'm not one of these photographers who's getting asked to shoot, but I'm kind of making the same photo over and over again, which from every artistic medium, there's people who do that and make a very large killing on, you know? But to me, I've always wanted to be someone, when you hire me, it's because, you know, I just am fascinated in the story versus, you know, oh, this is the exact look we're going to get from him. Do you know what I mean?
Or it's just an opportunity for me to work, and then I'm out, you know? Yeah,
like, I want you, if you're going to hire me, I want you to know, like, I'm going to randomly nerd out on it for a couple of days and be like, oh, actually, I'm going to probably try to do this, you know? And I'm much more interested in doing that than kind of having a look that is, you know.
No, I feel that. And I think also with people's stories and journeys, I think in anything you do, you have a moment of, like, kind of internal assurance where you're like, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm on the right path. Like, you might have been doing a bunch of stuff, but then, like, something clicks. I don't know when that moment was for you, but I do know you got a big break when you were able to take on the project with Trevor Noah, right? It's called, like, A Day in the Life of Trevor Noah, where you get to follow him around, right, and kind of document him. And then you also won an award for that, right? The American Photography Award. But would you say that was one of those moments, or was something else before that kind of let you know, yo, okay, there's a silver lining here?
That was pretty early still, and I think that early on in your career as a photographer or any creative, the biggest thing, right, is you don't have a resume. Well, how do I get a resume if you don't give me a resume? Like, you know, how I get ID if I don't have ID? You know, and that story, the reason I kind of refer to it is kind of like, it wasn't a break. Like, I don't think I was like all of a sudden like on, you know, like, but it was something where I could go into meetings and be like, here's an editor who trusts me to fill 5-6 pages of a magazine. Back then, that's you know,
it's a big deal.
You know, big deal. And I think that let people have confidence that the professional side was there. So I think early on, especially as a young black person, people try to assume your lack of professional ability. Like, they're like, oh, I like the work, but I can't trust you. Like, they try to assume that you're not professional. You know what I mean? Like, whether people want to admit it or not, that was, you're unprofessional till proven otherwise, you know? Like, and so that was a big hump for me when I was young, when I was trying to get in. So that story was just a good example of, like, I had a deadline. You know, just all those professional check boxes, and I saw that trigger in editors when I would send them that work. They're like, oh, you know, like, I actually saw that spread, like, and I think it led people to know what I could do and what I could perform in a professional sense. So it helped a lot in that way, because earlier on, it's like, pictures are dope. I go in a meeting, you know, like, someone scored me a meeting on whatever magazine. I was like, oh man, hell yeah, I'm about to be in there. And I show them the work, and then when I walk away, I can tell they were just like, oh, but I might hire that person I've been hiring for 5 years instead. You know, like, there's this 35-year-old who's been doing it for a minute who probably will pick before you know.
Interesting. How do you, I guess, or even for tips for those who are going through that, I mean, rejection is you know what I mean, it's natural, like, right? Not everybody's gonna like what you do, not even like, they're probably never gonna understand where you're coming from, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's like, but do you have advice for people, like, on how to continue to keep pushing forward even when you're getting those rejections or those misunderstandings, if you want to call it that?
I think that the most valuable thing for me is, if you think your shit's dope, you'll be good. Like, it's consistency is really the biggest battle. So, like, for me, I think earlier on, getting all those no's was, I still liked the work. It didn't make me question the work. And I think you have to get to that point. I mean, earlier on, I would, you know, look at my portfolio and be like, man, this shit's mid, bro. Like, this, you know, like, and you get, like, insecurities drop in because you didn't get that response to the email. And then you're looking at your website, you're like, man, maybe they didn't respond because shit's weak, you know? But once you I think when you get to that point where, and we have to be honest with ourselves, because we all were making mid art until you got to a point where you weren't thinking it was that mid. And we're still trying to get better, but come on, you're a beginner. It's cool. Like, just humble yourself in that sense.
Keep yourself grace.
Keep yourself grace. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you truly think what you're doing is good and you're consistent about it, it's important not to compare the timelines to other people, how other people are moving, how fast they go up, whatever. But I think that if you think your work is dope, you'll break through. Like, you know what I mean? Like that confidence affects the way people look at it too. You go into a meeting or whatever, and you really think you got heat in front of them. That present, like, you project that onto them.
That's
what
so
I mean?
true, bro.
Like, it's like going into a job interview, right? Where you go on a job interview, you don't really know what you're doing, versus this is easy, like it's nothing. Like, what are your personality? Like, your whole energy going to shift based on those two, right? And so I think for younger people, well, not even necessarily, let's not even make it about age, just early career. If what you think you're making is good and you're proud of it, keep pushing it, because it is. Then, like, if you think it's dope, people will think it's, like, they'll find a place.
I believe in that 100%.
100%. And consistency.
Well, I was telling Beniam about it. I always reference this line from Common in the song "The People," where he's like, "Nobody believes till I believe me." You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's true. Like, no matter how good it is, like, it has to cut through. Like, people want to know who it is that's behind it, and how proud and how confident they are. Yeah, exactly. So that's important. That's a good message.
And whenever I do, on that point, whenever I do I've done like portfolio reviews, and I look at younger people's work, and they do ask those questions like, man, you shoot for this, this, and this. How do I get in there? And I'm always just like, if you go into a meeting with the people who hire me, right, and they need somebody who they know is going to do well, whatever, they're going to pick someone with experience. You'll never be able to just show work that's dope, and that's going to somehow spark something that makes them ignore that there's someone with experience who can do all right. But what you can do is showing your perspective, and then that's what they put away in the locker, right?
Vision.
So that's what I mean by, if you think your work's dope, you're gonna express that, and that's gonna show your personality. Do you know what I mean? Personality.
You open their eyes.
Because if you try to just, let's say you're a concert photographer and you're like, oh, I got pictures of all these people in the concerts, whatever. It's objectively good, whatever. It's good. It probably is good, but they're probably gonna hire somebody who has experience.
Yeah.
But if you go into it like, I have a friend who's a musician, they might not sell out shows, but it's like, I've been documenting them every time they do a show. I'm backstage. Yep. You make a whole little narrative story. Yep. That's something you personally invested in. That's gonna go so much farther than having a picture of Kanye that everyone took on their iPhone.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
that makes sense.
It's like, that's the perspective. You got perspective is the most valuable thing you have when you're starting to create a career.
Man, that's your I'd say that's your biggest asset. That's our biggest asset, is your perspective.
And the time, like, not front, beginning, middle, career, everything. But I think early on, I think a lot of people, they see. I think the biggest thing with social media, right, is people can see someone getting opportunities that they think they deserve. All these things that people kind of project, like, man, I could do that. That's not even that dope. But it's like, what, you're ignoring the professionalism of it. Like, these people probably got hired because that person, whoever hired him, was like, oh, but I know they can perform at this. When they got a bunch of people over your shoulders and looking at the camera.
They had to have delivered prior to that.
Right.
On more occasions.
And instead of trying to compare yourself, it's like, oh, instead of trying to get a chance with the biggest celebrity ever, well, if you did something dope, just like of something that you personally invest in, you know what I mean? That's going to go so much farther.
I'll tell you, man, there's 7 billion plus people on this earth, bro. Like, and there's social media. So there's many audiences out here, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's real.
That kind of, that was, I think you kind of answered it, but that was going to kind of lead me into my next question, was like, because like to the normal person, we kind of look at it like just somebody taking pictures. You know what I'm saying? Or like a lot of people might perceive it like that. Yeah. So what are like some of like the behind the scenes, like what are the aspects of photography that like an average person probably won't really ever know,
I think the first and foremost thing is you usually only get like 10 minutes with a celebrity. Like, it's not when that Nip photo went viral, I remember people reaching out to me and be like, oh man, what was he like? Like, and I always say to him is like, fortunately, none of us could have possibly known that, his life would end abruptly. So we had a very professional, it was very, like, it was cool. It was all love, like, connect on the Habesha, he saw necklace, like, it was dope. But people don't realize, like, it's not like you gotta half a day with somebody. It's like you're part of the show. You know, it's like
you're doing your job.
And my job is to make something that emotes and expresses with the little amount of time you have. You know what I mean? Which I don't think a lot of people give grace for. Like, I think I always get mad when I see viral stuff on social media, like people clowning a photo of a celebrity or something. Like, man, that person probably had 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, got pushed in the room, you know? Like,
you never know.
Yeah, like the professional part of it. I don't know. It's hard. And that's the part people don't know. You know, it's like there's a lot of stuff that goes in behind the scenes into making that. Yeah. And it has to happen quickly usually. Yeah. So I think that maybe is like the part that I think people don't usually. Yeah. And stop thinking I'm making hella money off it. When you shoot a celebrity, doesn't mean you're rich. Like, everybody always be seeing pictures. Like, oh, you got the money. What? What does that mean? A lot of money? Like, you know, it's funny.
There's a lot of misconceptions in a a lot of industries too.
It's funny. It's like I'm rich adjacent. You know, it's like I wasn't.
No, I'm curious though. I mean, since you touched on the photo shoot with Nip, you know what I mean, and I think that's you know, that's kind of like a big role for you too, right? Not even with that photo shoot and maybe others where you get to preserve like a legacy in a moment. And sometimes you don't really know what you're creating in the moment until, you know, maybe later on down the line, right? But I guess, what do you remember from that shoot as far as like, I guess, what were you trying to capture? Like, what was your approach with that?
Well, I think for me, first and foremost, is I was a fan of his music. So I think whenever I'm particularly a fan of someone I'm being asked to photograph, I really want to make sure it's exactly what I envision. Like, I'll show up 3-4 hours early, even if I'm going to have 5 minutes with them. Like, if it's that personally invested, because I think about the idea of their visual legacy, right? Like, if this is my opportunity to add to that, you know, I want to invest in it. So,
for sure.
With the Nip photo, I know for me, you know, he's from Crenshaw and he was coming to New York. I was like, he's going to be wearing all blue. I know it. I know he's going to show up in all blue. Yeah. So I really thought the idea of the stuff he raps about and the world he was living in, how do I turn that into something graceful and beautiful? So this idea of like this glowing blue light, and that's why that background is so kind of neon, like not neon, but I think for me it was very like, I like the idea of just taking what he's talking about in his music, but then like how do you present that in like this pristineness to it, you know? Yeah. And so I remember telling the photo editor this. I was like, oh, you know, I'm about to do it like this. And she's like, all right, as long as it's dope. She was just kind of, you know, like in a good way. Like, it was just like, as long as you kill it, no one's complaining. But I think at the time it was funny because I had no idea where that image would go. I thought it was like my own little secret. Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to nerd out and make this photo exactly how I think it should be. Yeah. It's going to go into the social media atmosphere and then it'll die down. I was like, but I know I did it. Like, you know, I was just like, and so it's funny because once, you know, that image took a life of its own, people were reaching out like, man, I can't, you know, it's just crazy because you photographed them on that blue, and you did, you know, like people were reaching. Yeah,
they start to really look
when
at
they really look at it, and I was like, all that was intentional. Like like it's so funny because I was like, it was something where I think as photographers in this media age, we make so much work. Like I'm, you know, like there's so many pictures I made that have gone into the internet and gone, you know, whatever, but what makes it valuable to us, I think, is caring when you want to knock it out. Like, you got to do something, leave a little, you know, crumble of like this, leave your mark in a way of like, I really thought this intentionally. I hope someone finds it in front of it, you know. Like,
and when they do, it's just like, oh shit. It's the best feeling.
And so that was how I approached it. I think I was very intentional, and everything in that photo is in those photos is very intentional.
Yeah. It cuts through. It definitely cuts through, bro. Yeah. Definitely does, man. Yeah, man. Rest in peace, man.
Yeah, rest in peace for real.
Rest in peace.
It was great, man. And I'm also curious, too, because, like, in working with celebrities, is there a difference, you would say, in terms of working with maybe someone high profile and maybe someone who may not be as known? Like, or is it kind of based on who you're dealing with? Because I feel like some people, maybe some celebrities would be easier to work with than maybe someone who nobody knows. You know what I mean?
Honestly, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember I've had, you know, I won't name names, but I've had some shoots where like person is just rude, like uncomfortable. Yeah. Didn't really want to be in front of camera, you could tell. But then there's some people, like, I remember I went to, me and my friend, he's a writer, we went to Patterson, New Jersey to photograph Fetty Wap.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought we were just going to shoot it, you know, we pick a location and, you know, you knock it out.
Yeah.
But his uncle, he had bought his uncle a car wash. and his uncle also did a fish fry, and so we just kicked it on this corner for like half a day. With all his homies knew there was a photo shoot, so they all pulled up. Yeah, and it was so cracking. Like I was like, this is so fun. And like, this is work. And exactly. It was really one of those days where I was like, this is why we do it. You know what I mean? Like, facts. And it was funny because I didn't have any perception of him prior. I didn't have any expectations of what he would be like. Yeah. But I did think, you do ultimately get in this kind of, all right, it's professionalism. You're like, oh, we gotta go do it, pack it up, then we go home, Yeah. But that was a positive one where I was just like, oh, this is, he's showing love, like he's trying to hang out, like show us what Patterson was about, and
that's dope.
Yeah, no, it is a crapshoot. Yeah, you never know. You gotta always say you gotta make a game plan for if they're cool. And you make a game plan for if they're not.
There you go.
If they're cool, we can go do this, and this. Yeah. If they're not cool, we're gonna,
Hey man, you gotta be prepared for anything, bro. For anything. I love it though, and you're speaking so much to kind of the behind, like you were saying, the behind the scenes of the craft. Like people gotta respect the craft, bro. I don't care what it is you do. If I see a janitor, bro, that's a craft. I don't care what nobody says, bro. Like you gotta know they study and there's things that you just need to know to do this shit.
Oh, sorry, continue.
No, go ahead. No, like
I was saying, like, and the thing is, like, when someone's really good at something, it looks easy.
Oh, that's exactly
right.
Facts. If someone's doing something if they make something look easy,
that's a problem.
They put a lot of hard hours in to make that shit look easy. So that's
it's like Steph Curry make a 3 look easy. Don't mean it's easy. You know what I mean? Like it's like
he's in that gym.
It's a different world. That's what I mean, right? Yeah.
He's in that gym, man. And so now I'm also curious because I did read that you touched on the landscape of the photography industry, right? And as far as opportunities, right, for young black creatives, which we touched on earlier here. But you said most editors and publications and clients that were considered the pinnacle of success in the industry only hire one black photographer per year, right?
Did I?
You mentioned
That's
that.
Funny. Yeah, probably.
And this was from, I'm not exactly sure when, but.
A while back,
yeah.
Now they got 4.
Okay, there you go, right? But can you speak to kind of, from your perspective, being inside, like maybe why that is, and have you seen it change? Have you seen it change at all?
I think definitely a change.
Okay.
But, it's like not enough.
For sure.
But it's different. When I first was out here like trying to do it, I remember I would go to Barnes and Nobles and pull out magazines to find the editors' names, right?
Yeah.
To try to figure out their emails and whatever, right?
There you go.
And I remember I used to make a stack of magazines and be like, these are dope, but they don't hire black photographers. Yeah. And I'm not saying that in the sense of like paranoia. I'm looking through that motherfucker. Like, like everyone looks exact same, let alone makes the same image. Mm-hmm. And then here are the ones that are like, oh, well, I have an in maybe, or a homie might know somebody. And I had to mentally do these gymnastics because I knew there were certain publications that just were not giving, were not going to give me a look. I just knew it. Like, you still try, but I didn't get surprised when the email didn't come back.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
And I remember, I think there's a really strong black photo community now in a good way. Like it's just like a lot of cats connected early Instagram. Like a lot of us found each other and just stayed tapped in with each other.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I think so much of that early part of a lot of our careers, just kind of that whole gen of us, I think that are like a bit older. Like we started in this kind of like part of the industry when it was extremely racist.
Yeah.
And we used to one of the first things you talk about when you would meet would be like, hey man, have you ever shot for so and so?
Yeah.
Like, nah, bro, they don't hire black people. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'm not tripping.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that the industry has changed because I think there's a lot of people who are trying to actively go against it, whether that be they're a minority, a black person or a person of color themselves, or they just know they got to do something.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of people get tokenized or I do think there's certain approaches where people like, I think white people have an obsession. I call it the Obama effect. And they have the obsession with exceptionalism. Like they want a champion of the Negro race. Like they want do you know what I mean? And I think that affects our industry, like most creative industries.
Yeah. Like see, we got it. We did it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
There you go.
And I think that still affects a lot of opinions and taste.
Yeah.
But fuck them. Like it's just like right? It's like I know my shit hits.
Yeah.
So I'm not, to be blunt.
Yeah.
It's like,
and the work you guys are doing, like the community, right? The group, like again, you're opening doors, you're opening eyes, right?
Exactly.
Because as photographers, you guys are kind of behind the lens, behind the scenes, and people probably don't see you.
Mm-hmm.
They see your work, but they don't see you. So that sometimes the average person won't know who made that. But it is important to, you don't want to get in front of your shit and kind of distract people. But it is good to kind of like speak on some of these things in this industry, because it's an industry that is growing, right? There's people coming from behind who want to get into it. And it kind of eases their mind if they do get rejected to know, like, hey, at least I know I can do it, though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And it's also like we're creating our own networks, right? For example, I remember I was in an Uber going to a job with my assistant, and I was like, oh, man, what you got going on this week? I think, I assume we were shooting on a Monday or something. Yeah. And he was like, oh, I'm working with you, then I'm working with so-and-so, and then I'm working with so-and-so, and I'm working with so-and-so. I'm like, oh, you busy? That's good. And then I kind of paused for a second. I was like, you working with 4 black photographers.
Wow.
They're black themselves.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I was coming up, I knew maybe 1 black assistant other than me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it was so stark.
There it goes.
And the fact this kid casually, he didn't even, in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, to be clear, I'm not saying, like, you should be thankful. It's more like the fact that you just casually said you're working with 4 different black photographers.
Yeah.
I was just, I think he even thought it was weird how hyped I was, because I was like, this is unprecedented. Like, you were building a whole income off of, we're able to spread out that way. You're meeting people on set. Exactly. You're meeting stylists. You're meeting photo editors. You're meeting art directors on set.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it happens.
Man, that's beautiful, bro.
Yeah, it's definitely like a sign of progress for sure. Like, you know. So.
And I remember, I've always, to the best of my abilities, I'm pretty adamant about when I reach out to homies about recommendations. I'm like, black people to the front. Like, what's up? Like, I got to shoot here and here. You know any black people down there who do it?
Yep.
Like, and I'm blunt about it because I think it has to be. Like, it has to be something that.
Yeah.
I don't care about your feelings. Like, I feel like
you're doing it because it's natural. Right?
Yeah.
But there's an underlining kind of reminder to whoever is getting that message, like, oh shit,
I'm not playing. Like, my friends, my non-black friends who might be in a certain city, I go down to LA, like, hey, you know any black photo assistants? Like, of course you would ask, like, But I'm like, of course, if we gotta do what we gotta do professionally, if I, whatever. But sure. I'm always gonna put it out there first. Yeah. I'm like, might as well, I would appreciate it when I was trying to make rent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we deserve opportunities to fuck up too.
That's what I'm saying. We deserve opportunities to fuck up.
Even if my shit ain't hitting, let me get a chance to fuck up.
Yeah.
And
man.
Exactly. Tell me it's not good.
Exactly.
At least give us a chance, And that's all people want is opportunity.
Just a chance, just to learn. And then even if they learn, it's not for them. Yeah. It's like, at least you gave them the chance to just I don't necessarily fail, but just try shit out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's real, man. Like Gary said on the show, where he was like, sometimes people kind of disqualify themselves before they even try, or get a chance to try. So that's important, bro. And again, man, the work you're doing, bro, is it's impactful, bro. It's reaching more than just kind of in the photography space.
I appreciate that.
It's
Thank
impactful.
You. That's all I care about, man. For real.
No, that's big, bro. It's big, man. Man, bro, we can talk with you all day.
I talk too much. That's why I'll be rambling.
Yeah, it's good.
It's all good, bro.
It's good, man. I'm curious. So, what are you excited for? I guess, like, looking into the future, as far as maybe the industry yourself.
Yeah, man.
What gets you excited when you think about the future?
Man, to be honest, I spent my 20s with such a specific plan. I approached my career I had 1, 5, and 10 year goal. Like, I wrote the shit down. I was so specific about my goals. Yeah. And I'm proud to say, I think up to late last year, I did make some decisions that led me into, I think, like, more or less achieving everything that I kind of really planned out for myself for these last 10 years. And I don't think I gave myself enough time to really sit in that. So I feel like, for me, I think we were talking on the phone. I was like, part of me I'm excited about is I can sit in it. I got into gardening. Shout out to Nurturing Roots. I got into gardening.
Yeah.
I'm doing some woodwork and stuff. I'm like taking me time now, man, because I spent so much of my time those first 10 years. Like, I moved to New York when I was 21, I think, and then moved when I was 30. About 30. So it was like, almost 10 years of just like, how do I make my career do this? How do I get here? How do I make sure we got money like this? How do I do that? And I think I can finally put myself in a position where I'm confident in where my career is. So what do I do to make my, physical, mental, emotional place safe?
That's
and secure?
Important, bro. Yeah, it's about the marathon, bro.
Yeah, it's about the marathon. Exactly. I'm hitting. Yeah, that's the plan. I hit the 5K. We figured out the 5K. Now we're looking at the New York Marathon.
It's about sustaining, bro. It's about sustaining. Sustainability.
And part of that is kind of bringing on hobbies and understanding your sense of time needs to stretch out, man.
Yeah.
The fact that I thought I had to even get what I've gotten done by 30.
Yeah.
At 30, I was like, you're tripping. Like, you did. I'm happy you did a lot of things you want to do, but, bro,
Yeah.
You know, you were killing yourself. You know, you work real hard, and I think that it's important to like internalize relaxation time. We talking about out of office.
Yeah.
Email signatures.
It's important,
you know, like
it's super important, bro.
You know, it's something I'm trying to prioritize moving forward. So I think for me, like what I'm most excited about is just like family time, getting everything right, and just finding peace.
Growth, man. Growth comes in all levels, bro.
Right. I got to grow that part. That's my job right now. Yeah,
growth,
no doubt.
Well, that's important,
bro. It's like Nip said, man. Got to sit back down and rearrange that list, man.
Yes, sir. Every time.
I mean? Come on, bro.
That's definitely like a recharge, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if, you know, like going forward, it's like you have me time and then you come back to it. You're like, all right, it's like kind of fresh, you know?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah. But also what you know, they say like you work hella hard so that whatever took you 10 years to do, the next generation is going to take them 5, right? Or maybe 3, right?
Facts.
So, you know, that's important too, right?
Yeah, and it's dope. I feel like I've seen a lot of like young black photographers just moving, shaking. Like they just came out, they're 24 killing. I'm like, that's good for you. That's dope. Like, you know what I mean? Like, bet. Like, you know, like now some 19-year-olds like, oh, I'm going to assist them.
Exactly.
And then, you know,
exactly, man.
It's cool to see.
I love it, bro.
Yeah. No more anomalies. It's part of it. It's no more like a exaggeration or anomaly.
It's being normalized, man. It's dope, man.
For real, man.
Gardening though, right?
Oh, I'm in there.
Yeah.
Big fan. My winter garden's not moving like that though.
Yeah.
Learning, but I think that now we into a gardening podcast.
We're trying to get all genres, baby.
All I'm gonna say is, I think what it's done for me is my understanding of time is stretched out because of gardening. Because like I'll do something in the spring. And then maybe it didn't necessarily work out. I got to wait a year to do that again.
Yeah.
So then you start changing your perception of time. Like, oh, I didn't get to do it this time, but plan a little. We come back to it.
It's a life lesson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It affects your emotional. You know what I mean? You don't get anxious. I'm not anxious because of it. You know,
I might have to
do it. Start something.
I definitely think it'll just make everybody just
calm
more
down,
patient, bro. You know,
understand like the nature of life, bro.
Yeah,
that's real. That's deep.
It's great for my health.
I love it, bro. I love it, man. Well, yeah, man. Well, before we get you out of here, first of all, where can people find you on social media if they do want to tap in and follow the movement and follow the great work you've been doing? My
Instagram is Meron _photo, and then on Twitter it's just photo Meron, like photo I say Meron so people can hear the letters. Photo MERON. And then I guess it's social media. And my website is Meron photography.com.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah, man.
The website's fire, by the way.
Oh man, appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, bro. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the growth. And so before we get you out here, we always ask every guest this question. Kind of sums up what we discussed and kind of casts what's ahead. So if you can, my brother, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up and why?
Family. Yeah. Does that work?
Yep. Yeah, that works.
Why family? Why family?
Why family? Because it's like everything I do is to make sure we're consistent and good. You know, like family's good. What else do you need? You know, if your circle is happy, you're good health, taken care of, everyone's good. The rest of it is just,
come on, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what matters, man.
Right, bro.
Focus on what matters.
100%.
I love it, man.
Chosen or given family. Like whoever your family is, that's it.
It's beautiful, bro. Shout out to the family, man. Family in the room, family listening, obviously, and watching. Shout out to y'all.
Y'all call your fans family. You know what I'm saying?
Man, not facts, bro. It's family business, bro. Well, man, with that being said, bro, again, we wish you much success, bro, moving forward.
Man, appreciate you. Thank you. Likewise.
You know you got support with us here at the UpNUp always. Definitely want to wish the family members listening and watching a happy holidays, man, and a happy New Year. This is the final episode of 2021. We will see you on the other side, right?
We'll be back soon.
We'll be back. We'll see you on the other side. And with that being said, man, I think it's safe to say, man, Meron Menghistab is officially a member of the UpNUp. Can we get a round of applause? My brother, man. Thank you, bro.
Thank you, fellas. Oh, yep.
Yes, sir, man.
To continue supporting the podcast and the entire UpNUp movement, be sure to rate, review, like, and subscribe.
As well as follow us at _ the UpNUp on all social media platforms to stay connected with everything the UpNUp has coming your way.
Thanks for listening, and until the next one,
keep it on the up and up.